Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. I'm Denise and I am an athletic trainer. Today I wanted to do a answer your question segment. I received a question from a fellow YouTuber, Hulk Smash, and his question was, I have been doing a lot more strength training recently and I suffer from lower back pain whilst running. My job also involves me to sit at a desk most of the day. Any advice on how to overcome this? And I just wanted to thank him for writing in asking about ways to help lower back pain. And you could have lower back pain due to sitting all day in an office chair and working hard, because you guys are hard workers, as well as if you have lower back pain in general, or even as a student athlete sitting in your school desk all day. In my opinion, there are 3 reasons why one would be feeling lower back pain while running, especially if you're one that sits all day. So first reason is that when you sit all day, your hip flexors and hamstrings end up getting in a shortened position over time. So let's show you what that looks like. So as you can see here in my husband, the hip flexors are at an angle as well as the hamstrings, because both of those muscles are bent. So what happens over time is that the muscle ends up shortening, especially at the point of where it inserts behind the knee and also up at the hip. So because those muscles are shortened over time, it can end up pulling your pelvis in we call it posterior tilted position, or where your pelvis is tilted backwards. So we've all seen, people walking around where their pelvis is slightly tucked under, and that is because the hamstrings are so tight. So pretty much all that means is that the hamstrings end up pulling your pelvis kind of in a rotated back position. And since your muscles here in your lower back attach also to the bones of the back of the pelvis, when the hamstrings that connect in through here pull your pelvis back, they end up pulling on your back muscles. They pull them taut. So that's part of the reason why you tend to get sore. So reason number 2 is that your pelvis, which again makes up your hip, your bottom bone, the bones you sit on, it can be pulled backward, or if you have a muscle imbalance, one side or the other can be pulled and shifted backward. So imagine if you're standing here and one side is tighter than the other. Say your right hamstring's tighter than the other. That hamstring is going to end up pulling your pelvis on just that one side backward. So you kind of end up, if this is my pelvis here, you kind of end up in a twisted position, or we call it malalignment of the pelvis. That can give you pain. If one side or the other is tilted backward, then again, one side of the back muscles are being pulled taut, and that results in you getting achy pain or soreness. The best solution for that is to actually go and see, if you're someone who's in the working world, to go and see a physical therapist or an athletic trainer, and maybe even have to do a few sessions of therapy to get your pelvis back in alignment. If you're lucky enough to be a student athlete at a high school and you do have an athletic trainer, they are more than qualified to also help you get your pelvis back in place. So you gotta go seek them out and let them know what's going on so they can help you. The third reason why you might be having lower back pain, especially if you're one that sits all day or most of the day, is that your core inherently gets weak over time. So if you're not using it to hold your posture up in standing and in walking, then you're sitting a lot of the time, then your core, your abdominals, your back is included in your core as well, they get weak. So think about when you're running, whether it be long distance or shorter sprints, your quads are getting fired up in the front. So let's show you here. Your quads are getting fired up in the front, and as you're running, your already weak core tends to kind of just let itself go, putting your pelvis in an anterior tilted position. So what that just means, in a forward tilted position. So this can also be when you have an imbalance of muscle tightness either in the front hip flexor or in the quad here. So it's actually kind of like a dual thing. You have your weak abs here and you have your tight hip flexors in front, tight quads. You get that pull again and you kind of get that increased curve in your back. So to counteract that, then you have to work on your core, work on stretching your hip flexors and quads so that everything that's up here when you're running kind of eventually gets put back where you should be, kind of more upright when you're running. So in short, the main reason why you have lower back pain while running is that you usually have somewhat of a muscle imbalance. So whether it be tight hip flexors and quads, tight hamstrings in the back, or both, and then it ends up pulling your pelvis forward, usually forward, or even off balance where one side is pulled and the other is not. So let me show you a few exercises that can help with this. Here are a few ways to warm up your hamstring before you run in order to stretch so they don't pull as much. So you might have already seen my lower body stretching video, and a lot of these are included in that video, so I'll link that below for you. But just to review, a few good ones are the inchworm. So starting in a push-up position, walking your feet up, holding for a stretch in your hamstring, and then walking out, and doing a few of those. Another good one is also what I call the seesaw, which a lot of you might know about, but do you really do them? So this is good to do before you run. So starting standing, take your arms overhead if you'd like, and all you do is keeping whatever leg is down, you're just tilting over, kind of to form a T shape, or all the way down if you'd like. So you just kind of walk with it. So you're doing one side at a time, you're stretching the hamstring here, and then you're coming back up. So doing a few of those, maybe 5 to 10 times before you start running, can really help to stretch and warm up the hamstring. And then of course after you run, just doing a static hamstring stretch. So my favorite way to do it is laying down on your back, using a rope to pull it up, and stretching your hamstring in this way. Let's go over some ways to work on the front of your body, so the hip flexors and the quads. One of my favorite ways to work on and to warm up the hip flexors is just through basic lunges. So doing walking lunges as opposed to just in place, I feel like that gets your hip flexor going a little bit before you start running. So it just looks like this. Taking a step forward, you're going to drive your knee downward. Your hips are kind of pushing forward also. And you're just here stretching the leg that's down, the hip flexor. Then you're taking a step forward. Get your balance. And down with the back leg, straight down with the back leg. And again, you're leaning your hips forward to get the opposite side hip flexor here. And you just kind of walk with this. Doing maybe 5 or 10 of these to start out with again. And that really gets you good. It gets you good and warm and stretched out before you're gonna go running. And then there are 2 ways I like to stretch my hip flexors and quads together. So the first one is doing again in the lunge position. So I'll try to face the camera this time. We'll go this way. So in a lunge position, you're leaning your hips slightly forward. The knee is directly stacked on top of the ankle. What I like to do is lift my arm up, and I tilt to the opposite side of the stretch here. So I'm tilting, and then I'm opening my chest, so I'm turning and leaning forward. So you get a little bit more of a good stretch here in the hip flexor as well as the groin. And those kind of static hold stretches, you want to do maybe 30 seconds at a time, and then you kind of just switch. So just leaning forward a little bit, The arm goes up, that's on the same side as you're stretching. You're tipping over to the side, and then you're opening your chest up. And I really like this, and you feel this a lot if you're tight. So that's one way I like to stretch. Here's one more, the Z stretch. So you could look kind of like the letter Z. So keeping one leg tucked in front of you. The other one's back behind you. And no, we are not doing straight back, which a lot of people like to do to stretch the front of their quads. It's not the best thing for you. It's better if you twist to the side. So the left leg's tucked right now. The right leg's back behind me. And we're stretching the right side here. So we're moving our body away from that side. So stretching, you can also lift your arm up. Either way. And then after about 15 seconds, I like you to go down to your elbow and continue reaching. Now the solution for the third one is just gaining core strength. That can be done in a number of ways. I'm sure you guys have your favorite core exercises that you do. I prefer to do plank, forearm plank, and all the way up. I do front plank and side planks, as well as maybe laying on my back and doing some sort of leg movement to work my abs. And remember, it's always good to work your core diagonally as well as straight up and down. So I'll probably be doing some future videos on core workouts and what's the best to protect your spine. So I hope you enjoyed this video on how to help your lower back pain while running. So let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you guys have a question about an exercise or if you would like me to do a video response to one of your questions. I would love to do that, and that's kind of my passion. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel wherever that red button might be. And that way you don't miss any videos. And to feel the best that you felt in your life. We all go through struggles. We all go through injuries and pain and health issues. But I want you to know that you can live your best life possible. You just have to put the work in. And I'm here to help you guys with that. So I will see you soon in my next video. Bye. Thanks for watching.